Gross margin becomes a more important part of the pricing conversation today, particularly with all of the AI startups. And I don't know, everybody thinks they're an AI startup now or wants to ride that wave. But you know what's different about so many of the AI startups, let's say, today, as opposed to a SaaS startup from maybe a few years ago, is that the costs have risen, meaning the costs of supplying services, costs of goods sold, has actually risen in this AI startup world as compared to, say, 3 years ago, or for those startups who are just selling software, SaaS software, where the software is essentially all written in-house. And when you're in that situation, that traditional SaaS software, here I'll say, I'm just going to call it, I don't know, old SaaS, and it's not pejorative, but you know what? That's no good. I'm going to say regular SaaS. So with regular SaaS, where you've written all the software, largely in-house, maybe you're getting data from some data sources, but oftentimes those might even be partnerships with other providers, so it's not necessarily a cost that you incur. So with that regular SaaS model, your gross margins could be in the 95% range. Certainly above 90 is not at all uncommon, and that's great. Now, here I'm just going to call it the AI SaaS world. So in the AI SaaS world, now you got to pay OpenAI or whoever the underlying model provider is. Now, even if you don't pay one of those AI providers, maybe you're running your models locally, but the costs of hosting that are far higher than with traditional SaaS, where you're just building an application that doesn't have that huge infrastructure cost. And so with AI SaaS, this number might drop. It will vary by company, but let's talk about some examples. What if you're selling a product which is, well, let's say you're trying to go for sheer volume, and so it's $10 a month. And you find that under the covers that your bills from OpenAI, or depending on how you're doing it, are actually $5 a month. Well, all of a sudden, this means that your gross margin is only $5 a month, or 50%. By the way, that's not SaaS. That's not SaaS in the sense that whether it's acquirers or even when you look at your own business model, look at what profitability you want to achieve as you run the business, that sucks. 50% gross margins are not what you would expect to see from a software company. And so, well, how do you fix that? The truth is, you don't want to be charging $10 a month for this product. Whatever this product is in this example, if you've got $5 a month in costs, you really want to be charging $50 a month. And now you're at 45 here, and you're at 90% gross margins. So not as good as maybe in the old school world, because you have real costs sending out the door, but pretty reasonable. And so bear this in mind when you think about pricing. Whatever your underlying cost structure is, you've got to take account of that. And with many new AI startups that we do see non-trivial costs, particularly like once all of the credits that you have with whether it's OpenAI or Microsoft, they're handing them out like candy right now. You'll burn through those. What are your long-term economics? You got to make sure that you keep your gross margins high, or at the end of the day, your business is not going to be valued in the way that an old school SaaS company was with its higher margins. And so be aware.